A single dad stood between 3 bullets and a teacher's daughter, a child he barely knew. In 3 seconds, David Chen made a choice that would redefine courage forever. What happened next didn't just save one life. It transformed an entire community and proved that real heroism isn't about fearlessness, it's about love. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. The rain hammered against the classroom windows like angry fists. Sarah Mitchell stood at the front of her second-grade classroom, watching her students pack their colorful backpacks. Her daughter Emma sat in the 3rd row, braiding her best friend's hair. Sarah smiled. These simple moments made all the difficult years of teaching worth it. "Miss Mitchell, can I stay and help clean?" a small voice asked. Sarah turned to see Tommy Chen, a shy boy who always volunteered. "That's sweet, Tommy, but your dad is waiting outside." Through the window, Sarah saw Tommy's father David leaning against his old truck. David Chen was a quiet man. He worked 2 jobs to raise Tommy alone after his wife died 3 years ago. Sarah had never seen him smile much, but his eyes always softened when he looked at his son. "All right class, see you tomorrow," Sarah called out. The children rushed toward the door like a wave. Emma grabbed her pink backpack and hugged her mother's waist. "Love you, Mom. Love you more, sweetheart." The school parking lot was busy with parents picking up their children. David waited patiently, hands in his jacket pockets. Tommy ran toward him, his backpack bouncing. "Dad! Look what I drew." Tommy held up a picture of 2 stick figures holding hands. David knelt down, studying the drawing carefully. "This is beautiful, buddy. Is this us?" "Yeah. That's you and me at the park." For the first time that day, David's face softened into something close to a smile. He ruffled Tommy's hair. "Let's go home. I'll make your favorite dinner." They walked toward the truck when suddenly, shouting erupted across the parking lot. "You destroyed my life," a man's voice screamed. Everyone turned. A tall man with wild eyes stumbled forward. His clothes were dirty, his face twisted with rage. He held something metallic in his right hand. A gun. Sarah's heart stopped. She recognized him immediately. Marcus Webb. 2 years ago, she had reported him to the police after discovering he was selling drugs near the school playground. He went to prison. Now he was back. "You took everything from me," Marcus screamed, pointing the gun at Sarah. "My freedom. My family. Everything." Parents screamed. Children cried. People scattered like frightened birds. But Emma stood frozen near the school entrance, her pink backpack falling from her shoulders. Sarah's world moved in slow motion. Her daughter, her baby, standing directly in the line of fire. "Emma!" Sarah screamed, trying to run toward her. Marcus raised the gun, his finger on the trigger. Hate burned in his eyes. Then everything changed. David saw the gun. He saw Emma frozen with fear. He didn't think. He didn't hesitate. His body moved before his mind could catch up. In 3 powerful strides, David reached Emma. He wrapped his arms around the little girl and turned his back to the gunman. The first shot exploded through the air. The bullet tore through David's left shoulder. Pain erupted like fire, but he held Emma tighter. "Get down," someone yelled. But Marcus fired again. The second bullet hit David's right side, breaking a rib. His knees buckled, but he refused to fall. He kept his body between Emma and the gun. "Stop!" Sarah screamed, running toward them. Marcus aimed one more time. His hand shook with rage. He pulled the trigger. The third bullet struck David's lower back. This time, his legs gave out. He collapsed onto the pavement, still clutching Emma beneath him. But the little girl was unharmed. Not a single bullet touched her. Teachers tackled Marcus before he could fire again. Someone kicked the gun away. Others called the police. The parking lot became chaos, screaming, crying, sirens wailing in the distance. Sarah dropped to her knees beside David. Blood pooled beneath him, dark and spreading fast. David! Oh God, David! Tears streamed down her face. Tommy pushed through the crowd, his small face pale with terror. Dad! Dad, wake up! David's eyes fluttered open. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth, but he looked at his son. Hey buddy, he whispered. Don't cry. You're hurt. Tommy sobbed. I'm okay, David lied. His voice was weak. Just tired. Emma crawled out from beneath him, shaking. You saved me, she whispered. David managed the smallest smile. That's what grown-ups do. We protect kids. Don't talk, Sarah begged, pressing her hands against his wounds. The ambulance is coming. You're going to be okay. David's eyes met hers. In that moment, Sarah saw something she'd never noticed before. Despite the pain, despite the blood, there was peace in his expression. He had done what mattered. He had protected an innocent child. Take care of Tommy, David whispered. Promise me. You're going to take care of Tommy yourself, Sarah said firmly. You're not leaving him. You're not leaving us. The ambulance screamed into the parking lot. Paramedics rushed over with a stretcher. They worked quickly, checking David's pulse, inserting IVs, shouting medical terms Sarah didn't understand. We need to move now, one paramedic yelled. They lifted David onto the stretcher. Tommy grabbed his father's hand. I love you, Dad. Please don't go. Love you too, buddy, David whispered. Be brave. They wheeled him toward the ambulance. Sarah held Emma and Tommy close as the vehicle sped away, sirens wailing. Emma buried her face in Sarah's shoulder. Is he going to die, Mom? Sarah's throat tightened. I don't know, sweetheart. The hospital waiting room smelled like antiseptic and fear. Sarah sat with both children, Tommy on her left and Emma on her right. Other teachers had come to offer support. The principal stood nearby, phone pressed to his ear, updating the superintendent. Tommy hadn't spoken in an hour. He stared at the floor, his small hands clenched into fists. Emma held his hand, trying to comfort him. Your dad is the bravest person I ever met, Emma said quietly. Tommy looked up, tears streaming down his face. What if he dies? I don't have anyone else. Sarah pulled him close. Your dad is a fighter. He's going to make it. But she didn't know if that was true. 3 bullets. So much blood. Hours crawled by. Nurses walked past, their faces neutral and professional. No one told them anything. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, each second feeling like torture. Finally, a doctor emerged from the double doors. His scrubs were stained with blood. Sarah stood up quickly, her heart pounding. Family of David Chen. Yes, Sarah said. How is he? The doctor's expression was serious. He's alive. But it was close. 1 bullet missed his heart by inches. Another damaged his kidney. The 3rd fractured his spine. Tommy gasped. His spine. The doctor knelt down to Tommy's level. Your dad is very strong. He survived surgery. But his injuries are serious. He'll need months of recovery. Maybe longer. But he'll be okay. Tommy asked desperately. The doctor hesitated. He'll live. But walking again, that might take time. We won't know the full extent until he wakes up. Sarah felt tears burning in her eyes. This man, this quiet, humble man who worked 2 jobs and never complained, had sacrificed everything for her daughter. Can we see him? Sarah asked. He's in recovery. Give it another hour. The doctor left. Tommy buried his face in Sarah's shoulder and cried. Emma cried too. Sarah held them both, her own tears falling silently. He's going to be okay, Sarah whispered. Your dad is the strongest person I know. When they finally entered David's room, Sarah's heart broke. Machines beeped steadily. Tubes ran from David's arms. His face was pale, his body still. Tommy walked slowly to his father's bedside. Dad? David's eyes opened slightly. Even drugged and exhausted, he focused on his son. Hey buddy. You're alive. Tommy grabbed his father's hand carefully. Takes more than 3 bullets to stop me, David whispered. His voice was weak but steady. Sarah stood at the foot of the bed, Emma beside her. Thank you, Sarah said. You saved my daughter's life. David shook his head slowly. Any parent would have done it. No, Sarah said firmly. Not everyone would have. You didn't think. You just acted. You're a hero. I'm not a hero, David said. I'm just a dad. But Sarah knew the truth. In those few seconds of chaos, David Chen had shown the purest form of love, the willingness to die so another could live. Emma stepped forward. Thank you for saving me, Mr. Chen. David looked at her. You're safe. That's all that matters. But you got hurt because of me, Emma said, tears rolling down her cheeks. No, David said gently. I got hurt because a bad man made bad choices. That's not your fault. Never think that. A nurse entered to check David's vitals. He needs rest now. You can come back tomorrow. Tommy didn't want to leave. I want to stay with my dad. The hospital has rules, buddy, David said. But I'll be here tomorrow. I promise. Sarah gently led Tommy toward the door. We'll come back first thing in the morning. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the moment in her mind, David throwing himself in front of Emma, bullets tearing through his body, the blood spreading across the pavement. He had 3 seconds to decide. 3 seconds to choose between safety and sacrifice. And he chose sacrifice without hesitation. The next morning, Sarah brought Tommy back to the hospital. Emma insisted on coming too. News crews crowded outside the building. Word had spread about the shooting. Headlines called David a hero. Reporters wanted interviews. Sarah pushed past them, shielding the children. No comment. Inside David's room, things had changed. Flowers filled every surface. Cards lined the windowsill. A woman in a suit stood beside his bed. Miss Mitchell, she said. I'm from the mayor's office. The city wants to honor Mr. Chen's bravery. David looked uncomfortable. I don't need honor. I just want to go home. The mayor wants to present you with a medal of courage. There will be a ceremony. No ceremony, David interrupted. I'm not doing media events. I did what any decent person would do. The woman looked frustrated but nodded. I'll inform the mayor. But understand, the whole city is calling you a hero. After she left, Sarah sat beside David's bed. Tommy held his father's hand, refusing to let go. Why don't you want the medal? Sarah asked. David was quiet for a moment. Because this isn't about medals. Emma is safe. That's the reward. That's enough. Sarah felt something shift in her chest. This man, this quiet, humble man, understood something most people didn't. Real courage wasn't about recognition. It was about doing the right thing even when no one was watching. The doctor said you'll need months of recovery, Sarah said gently. What about Tommy? What about work? David's face tightened with worry. I'll figure it out. No, Sarah said firmly. We'll figure it out. Together. David looked confused. What do you mean? You saved my daughter's life, Sarah said. Now let me help yours. Tommy can stay with us while you recover. We have a guest room. Emma and Tommy are already best friends. And I can take him to visit you every day. I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm insisting. Tommy looked up hopefully. Really? I can stay with Emma. If your dad is okay with it, Sarah said. David's eyes filled with tears. He had spent 3 years carrying everything alone, working 2 jobs, cooking meals, helping with homework, comforting nightmares. He had built a wall around himself, convinced he had to handle everything without help. But now, that wall crumbled. Okay, he whispered. Thank you. The weeks that followed were hard. David underwent 3 surgeries to repair the damage. Physical therapy was painful and slow. Some days he could barely move. Other days he cried from frustration. But Sarah kept her promise. Every day after school, she brought Tommy and Emma to visit. They did homework in David's room. They ate dinner together. Emma read stories to David while Tommy colored pictures. Slowly, David began to heal. His spine recovered better than doctors expected. After 6 weeks, he took his first steps with a walker. After 8 weeks, he walked on his own. The school community rallied around him. Teachers organized fundraisers to cover medical bills. Parents donated food and supplies. The other kids made cards decorated with drawings and stickers. One afternoon, Sarah arrived to find David standing by the window, staring outside. Hey, she said softly. You okay? David turned. His eyes were red. I can't stop thinking about it. About Emma standing there. About how close she came to. His voice broke. Sarah walked over and touched his arm gently. But she didn't. Because of you. You changed everything in 3 seconds. I didn't think, David admitted. I just saw a child in danger and moved. That's what makes you a hero, Sarah said. You didn't calculate risks. You didn't worry about yourself. You just acted on pure love. David looked at her. Really looked at her. Why are you doing all this? Taking care of Tommy, visiting every day. You barely knew me before. Sarah smiled. Because you showed me what real courage looks like, and because Tommy deserves to have support. And because. She paused. Because you're a good man, David Chen. Something passed between them in that moment. An understanding, that a connection. 3 months after the shooting, David was released from the hospital. Sarah drove him home. Tommy sat in the back seat, bouncing with excitement. Dad's coming home. Dad's coming home. When they pulled up to David's small house, a surprise waited. The entire neighborhood had gathered. Signs reading, "Welcome Home Hero," covered the front yard. Balloons floated in the breeze. David stepped out of the car slowly, still moving carefully. The crowd erupted in applause. We wanted to show our appreciation, a neighbor called out. David's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. All of you. Emma ran forward and hugged him gently. I'm so glad you're okay, Mr. Chen. David knelt down, still difficult but getting easier. I'm glad you're okay too, Emma. Over the following months, life began to return to normal. David returned to work part-time. Tommy went back to his regular routine. But something fundamental had changed. David was no longer alone. Sarah checked on him regularly. Other parents offered playdates for Tommy. The community had wrapped itself around this quiet man who had shown them the meaning of courage. One evening, Sarah brought dinner to David's house. Tommy and Emma played in the living room while the adults talked in the kitchen. How are you feeling? Sarah asked. Better. Stronger. David smiled. I can almost keep up with Tommy now. Sarah laughed. Then her expression grew serious. I've been wanting to tell you something. That day, when I saw you throw yourself in front of Emma, I realized something. I'd been so focused on my job, on being independent, on protecting Emma myself. But watching you, you taught me that accepting help isn't weakness. That love means letting people care. David was quiet. Tommy's mother dying taught me the opposite. I thought I had to do everything alone. Be strong all the time. But these past months, you showed me it's okay to lean on people. They stood there, two single parents who had learned the same lesson from opposite directions. Tommy talks about you all the time, David said. He says you make the best pancakes. Sarah grinned. Emma says you tell the funniest bedtime stories. We make a good team, David said softly. Sarah met his eyes. Yeah. We do. 6 months after the shooting, the school held a special assembly. Parents filled the auditorium. Students sat cross-legged on the floor. The principal stood at the podium. Today we honor someone who showed us the true meaning of courage. Please welcome David Chen. The crowd stood and applauded. David walked onto the stage, moving without pain now. Tommy and Emma sat in the front row, beaming with pride. David approached the microphone. He'd never been comfortable with public speaking, but he had something to say. Thank you, he began. People keep calling me a hero. But I'm not. I'm just a dad who saw a child in danger. Any parent in that parking lot would have done the same thing. He paused, gathering his thoughts. What happened that day was terrible. A man made choices driven by anger and hate. But what happened after, that was beautiful. This community came together. You supported me. You cared for my son. You showed me that kindness is stronger than violence. That love defeats hate. His voice grew stronger. I took 3 bullets that day. But I gained something more valuable, I gained a family. Not just Tommy. Not just my neighbors. All of you. You showed me that courage isn't just about one moment. It's about showing up every day. Helping each other, protecting those who can't protect themselves. He looked at Sarah in the audience. She was crying, like many others. So thank you. Thank you for reminding me that none of us have to be alone. That together, we're stronger. The auditorium erupted in applause. Students cheered. Parents wiped tears from their eyes. Tommy ran onto the stage and hugged his father tightly. Emma joined them. Then Sarah. Soon, the whole auditorium was on its feet, clapping until their hands hurt. A year after the shooting, life had settled into a beautiful new rhythm. David and Sarah had grown closer. Their children were inseparable. On weekends, they went to the park together, the same park Tommy had drawn in his picture. One Saturday afternoon, they sat on a bench watching Tommy and Emma play on the swings. The sun was warm. Birds sang in the trees. Peace surrounded them. I've been thinking, David said quietly. About what? Sarah asked. About that day. About how one choice can change everything. Sarah took his hand. You changed everything. Not just for Emma. For all of us. David smiled. I was terrified, you know. When I ran toward Emma. When I heard the first shot. But I wasn't scared of dying. I was scared of not being there for Tommy. But you survived, Sarah said. And now Tommy has something even more important than just his dad. He has a community. A family. They sat in comfortable silence, watching their children laugh and play. The scars on David's body had healed. The scars in his heart, the ones from losing his wife, from years of struggling alone, those were healing too. "Hey Dad. Miss Mitchell." Tommy called. "Watch this." He jumped from the swing at the highest point, flying through the air before landing safely in the sand. Emma cheered. "Be careful." David and Sarah yelled together. They looked at each other and laughed. "We sound like a married couple," Sarah said, then blushed. David's smile grew. "Would that be so bad?" Sarah's heart skipped. "No. That wouldn't be bad at all." 2 years after the shooting, David and Sarah stood at the altar of a small church. Tommy and Emma stood beside them as junior best man and maid of honor. The same community that had rallied around them filled the pews. When the minister asked if anyone objected, the room stayed silent except for the happy sniffles of crying guests. "I do," David said when his turn came. "I do," Sarah echoed. They kissed as husband and wife. The crowd erupted in cheers. Tommy and Emma hugged them both. Outside, as they walked to the reception, David paused. He looked back at the church, remembering everything that had brought them here. 3 bullets. 3 seconds. 1 choice. He had thrown himself in front of danger without thinking. But in that moment of pure instinct, he had changed the course of multiple lives. He had saved Emma. He had shown his son what real courage looked like. He had found love when he thought his heart was too broken to love again. Sarah squeezed his hand. "What are you thinking about?" David smiled. "About how the worst day of my life led to the best year, about how pain can turn into purpose. About how 3 bullets couldn't stop what was meant to be." "You're getting philosophical in your old age," Sarah teased. "Maybe. Or maybe I just finally understand what matters." "And what's that?" David pulled her close. "This. Family, love, being there for each other. That's what courage really means. Not one heroic moment. But choosing love every single day." Sarah kissed him softly. "I love you, David Chen." "I love you too." Tommy and Emma ran up, laughing. "Come on. They're cutting the cake." The 4 of them walked together toward the reception hall. A family. Complete. Years later, when Tommy and Emma were teenagers, they would sometimes ask David about that day. He would tell them the same thing every time. "I didn't think. I just moved." Because that's what you do when someone needs help. You don't calculate. You don't hesitate. You act. "But weren't you scared?" Emma would ask. "Terrified. But fear doesn't mean you don't act. It means you act anyway. That's real courage." Tommy would nod, understanding more each time he heard the story. "You're my hero, Dad." David would smile and ruffle his son's hair. "And you're mine, buddy." The scars on David's body faded over time. They became thin white lines, reminders of what he had survived, what he had sacrificed, what he had gained. On quiet evenings, Sarah would trace those scars with her fingers. Each one told a story. Each one represented a choice to protect, to love, to sacrifice. "Does it still hurt?" she would ask. "Not anymore," David would say. "Now they just remind me of how lucky I am." And he was lucky. Not because he survived 3 bullets. But because those 3 bullets led him home. Led him to love, led him to understand that courage isn't about being fearless. It's about being afraid and choosing to protect others anyway. It's about standing between danger and innocence. It's about 3 seconds that define a lifetime. David Chen took 3 bullets for a teacher's daughter. But what he gained was infinitely more valuable than what he lost. He gained a family. He gained purpose. He gained a story that would inspire countless others to choose courage over fear, sacrifice over safety, love over hate. And in the end, that's what changed the meaning of courage forever. Not the bullets. Not the scars. Not the headlines or medals. But the quiet truth that one person, in one moment, can choose to be a shield. Can choose to protect, can choose to love so fiercely that 3 bullets can't stop it. That's courage. That's heroism. That's the power of a single dad who showed the world what it truly means to be brave. The autumn sun painted golden streaks across the high school football field. David stood on the sidelines, his camera ready. Tommy, now 17, wore his team captain jersey with pride. The boy who once cried in a hospital waiting room had grown into a strong young man. Sarah sat beside David in the bleachers, her hand resting on his knee. Emma, now 15, sat with her friends a few rows down, cheering loudly for her brother. "Can you believe it's been 10 years?" Sarah whispered. David shook his head. "Sometimes it feels like yesterday. Other times, it feels like a different lifetime." The game started. Tommy ran onto the field with confidence. David watched his son move with strength and purpose, and his heart swelled with pride. During halftime, the principal approached the microphone. "Before we continue, I want to acknowledge someone special in our community. 10 years ago today, a man showed us what true courage looks like. David Chen, would you please stand?" David's face flushed. He hated attention. But Sarah nudged him gently. "Go on. Let them honor you." Reluctantly, David stood. The entire stadium erupted in applause. Students who weren't even born when the shooting happened clapped alongside parents who remembered that terrible day. 10 years ago, Mr. Chen took 3 bullets to save a child's life, the principal continued. But his legacy isn't just about one heroic moment. It's about how he taught this community the meaning of sacrifice, love, and courage. Because of him, we started our Guardian program, teaching students that being brave means protecting others, standing up for what's right, and choosing love over hate. The applause grew louder. Tommy looked at his father from the field, tears streaming down his face. Emma stood up, clapping harder than anyone. David waved awkwardly and sat down quickly. "I really wish they wouldn't make such a big deal." "You saved a life, David," Sarah said. "You changed this entire community. Let them thank you." After the game, which Tommy's team won, families gathered for a community barbecue. It had become a tradition over the years, this annual celebration on the anniversary of the shooting. An elderly woman approached David, holding a young boy's hand. "Mr. Chen, I wanted to introduce you to my grandson, Lucas." "Lucas, this is the man I told you about." The boy, maybe 7 years old, looked up at David with wide eyes. "You're the real-life superhero." David knelt down. "I'm not a superhero, buddy. I'm just a dad who did what anyone should do." "But you got shot 3 times." Lucas said. "And you saved that girl. My grandma says you're the bravest person ever." David smiled. "Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing even when you're terrified." Lucas thought about this. "So anyone can be brave?" "Anyone," David confirmed. "You just have to choose to help others instead of thinking about yourself first." The boy nodded seriously. "I want to be brave like you when I grow up." As Lucas walked away with his grandmother, Sarah moved closer to David. "You have no idea how many lives you've touched, do you?" David watched the families laughing, eating, celebrating together. "I was just a dad protecting a kid." "You were a dad who showed everyone that one person can make a difference," Sarah corrected. "You started something bigger than yourself." Tommy and Emma joined them, both holding plates of food. "Dad, Coach wants to talk to you about speaking to the team," Tommy said. "About what?" David asked. "About courage, about sacrifice. About being a leader." Tommy's voice was proud. "I tell them stories about you all the time." Emma hugged David's arm. "I tell my friends too. About how you saved me, about how you became my dad." About how one terrible day turned into the best thing that ever happened to our family. David felt emotion rising in his throat. I'm not good at speeches. Yes, you are, Sarah said. You just don't realize it. Every day you live is a speech about courage. Every time you help someone, you're teaching. Every time you choose love over fear, you're inspiring others. That evening, as the sun set and families began heading home, David stood alone for a moment at the spot where it had all happened. The parking lot had been repaved. New playground equipment stood where children once scattered in terror. But David could still see it all clearly in his mind. The gun, the screaming. Emma's frozen face. The bullets tearing through his body. And the choice, that split-second decision that changed everything. Sarah walked up beside him. You okay? Yeah, David said. Just thinking about how strange life is. How one moment can split your life into before and after. Do you regret it? Sarah asked quietly. The pain you went through? The surgeries, the months of recovery? David turned to her, pulling her close. Not for 1 second. Because of that day, I met you. Really met you. We built this family. Tommy learned what it means to be strong. Emma learned she was worth protecting. And I learned that I didn't have to carry everything alone. He looked at his scars, visible now in the fading light, white lines across his skin. These scars bought me everything that matters. My wife, my daughter, my community, my purpose. Sarah kissed him gently. And you gave us everything too. You showed us what love really looks like. Not pretty words or grand gestures. But someone willing to stand between danger and innocence. Someone willing to take the bullets so others don't have to. Tommy and Emma walked over, ready to go home. The four of them stood together, a family forged in fire and built on sacrifice. Dad, Tommy said quietly. Thank you. For what, buddy? For being you, for showing me how to be a man. For teaching me that strength isn't about muscles or toughness. It's about protecting the people you love. Emma hugged David tightly. And thank you for saving me. For giving me a dad, for choosing us. David held his children close, Sarah's hand in his. I'm the one who should be thanking you. All of you. You saved me too. You gave me a reason to keep going. You showed me that surviving those bullets was just the beginning. The real miracle was everything that came after. As they walked to the car, the stars beginning to appear overhead, David thought about all the people who had thanked him over the years. The parents who said he inspired them. The students who said he taught them about courage. The community that said he changed their lives. But they didn't understand the full truth. Yes, he had taken 3 bullets. Yes, he had saved a child. Yes, he had shown courage in that moment. But the real courage, the kind that truly changed everything, was the courage to accept love after loss. The courage to let people help. The courage to build a new family when he thought his heart was too broken. The courage to wake up every day and choose hope over despair, connection over isolation, love over fear. That was the courage that changed the meaning of courage forever. Not the heroic moment captured in headlines. But the quiet, daily decision to keep living, keep loving, keep protecting, keep believing that tomorrow could be better than yesterday. David Chen had taken 3 bullets for a teacher's daughter. But what he taught the world went far beyond that single act of heroism. He taught them that courage isn't a moment. It's a lifetime of moments. It's choosing love when hate seems easier. It's protecting others when protecting yourself seems smarter. It's standing up when falling down seems safer. It's believing in people when cynicism seems justified. That's real courage. That's lasting heroism. And that's the legacy David Chen left behind, not in bronze statues or history books, but in the hearts of everyone who learned that one person, in one moment, can change the world. 3 bullets couldn't stop that truth. Nothing ever could.